Let's podcast. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. I don't know. I don't know about being in charge. I'm Joe Giglio, joined today by Lauren Brownlow. Joe Ovius, the captain of the ship, not here today. He will be back tomorrow. And we're going to talk some basketball. Lauren, NC State had an interesting weekend. North Carolina.
Wow.
As I keep texting certain friends of mine, the heels look good. They
haven't looked like this in a while.
I've been told I'm not allowed to use the words Final Four by a certain Carolina fan, but
oh, come on.
But they look good. They look really good. We're going to get into that. But my number one takeaway from the weekend of watching a lot of football was whoever with the Carolina Panthers decided that the S2 cognitive test was going to be some sort of either reason for not taking CJ Stroud or the reason to make a draft selection between two quarterbacks, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
You're right.
That person needs to be stripped of all responsibilities of decision making.
Yeah,
and
if like the nicest.
If that person is David Tepper, he needs to take a hard look at himself and say, okay, now.
Oh no, he is, Joe. He hired a consulting firm that's helped out Chelsea, right? Is that right?
Okay.
And other football teams too, like other American football teams, not just Chelsea, but like, I mean, that's what everybody's saying, right? That he's taking a hard look at himself. I sure hope so.
I don't want to go on an anti-analytical rant here that there's been a couple of those.
But is this analytics?
I
don't know that this is analytics. Like this isn't like, this isn't like diagnosing like how many open receivers did he, you know what I mean? Like what's his completion percentage on hitting open guys? This is like literally, it's like a video game. It almost sounds like
the S2 cognitive test.
Full disclosure. I did not know what this was until Giglio explained it to me just before we started the show. Being, sick the last year and a half, couple years or so, I have not always been as plugged into the goings on of these things. I was unaware that this was a factor and a reason why. And I was very upset to learn.
Yeah, I just remember in the run-up that CJ Stroud, if you recall, coming out of Ohio State, the Panthers made a trade last year to trade up to get the number one overall pick. And it was even they kind of said, we don't really have one guy in mind. We're going to, look at all of our options.
I personally didn't feel that strongly one way or the other, to be honest.
I was always on Team Stroud, and this isn't the reason we're talking about that
as well. But I'm saying
this isn't the reason we're talking about that. We're talking about this because I just don't know how you can watch football, right? And watch what CJ Stroud did in the playoff game against Georgia last year and not think he is a really, really, really good quarterback. And you look at his size. Now, he's not 6'5".
No.
He's not this prototypical NFL standard size, but he's also not a one-of-one exception. So my problem in watching this was I'm watching one drive on Saturday, one drive, and I'm going, this kid is electric. All right. And he's got a little something going for him. Obviously, he statistically has turned into the greatest
Stroud, but
rookie season of all time.
I mean, I will say this, though. I'll be fair. I like Stroud. I still think I think he was the better choice. Mm-hmm. However, I can't shake the fact that one of their wins came against him. I'm sorry. I can't. It's hard for me to shake. I'm not into
totally
QB wins, but like in that game, he also was very underwhelming to me.
No, like it's so all of our conversations and all of your conversations on Young Gun,
I'm just saying he's not perfect.
Have been. This is not an either or proposition. Just because CJ Stroud is really good doesn't mean
it's too late for that anyway. Like they can't undo it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they've already done it. And you know what? There are guys that at times take time to develop, especially guys that maybe aren't as physically far along as a guy like Stroud is. To me, Stroud came in more ready-made, which is why I would have preferred it. Do I like Bryce? I like Bryce fine. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I understand like why people feel like it was the wrong pick. I'm not saying that it wasn't. It probably was, and I can say that now, but at the same time, it's like, how many more wins does he add to this year's team when he couldn't even beat this year's team by himself? I mean, I'm just, I don't believe in QB wins. I'm just saying, like, one of two quarterbacks to lose to this team was him. And this team was terrible.
All right. So the Texans end up winning this football game in a rout, in part because their defense had 2 pick sixes in the third quarter of this game. But they beat the Browns 45-14. So Stroud, in addition to turning in...
Thank you for your service, CJ.
The statistically the greatest season by any rookie quarterback, as now has a playoff win to his credit and has his team obviously in the final 8.
Fantastic.
Now this is, I did not want to start the conversation to say, oh my God, I was right about CJ Stroud, or oh my God, they screwed up. My point being about all of this with the Texans, is now the S2 test. First of all, if that was a Seinfeld episode, David Tepper should get Jackie Childs to sue the owner, the creator of the S2 test, because if that's the reason that you didn't take CJ Stroud, then you're completely flawed.
I thought it was vibes, because that's what I feel like the Teppers were always saying.
Well,
like, oh, we just really got a good feeling about him. It's like, who cares what kind of feeling you get about him? I don't care if he makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. I care what he can do on the football field. I don't care if he's like the worst person to be around that you've ever met, as long as his teammates like him and he can throw the football. I do not care if you get nice vibes around him. Sorry, I don't. Right? So, I'm not crazy.
No, you're not. I'm wondering though how the Panthers can use what the Texans did and help themselves. And
for sure,
my whole point in all of this exercise, watching the Panthers, watching the Texans, has been it's there for the Panthers. They obviously have to make some smarter moves. So I'm looking at the Texans and I'm going, okay, the Texans in 21, their first year, this is the year Deshaun Watson sat out. They go 4-13 with David Culley as their coach. And as you remember, you're like, I don't know who that person is.
Right, correct. I did not.
He was a longtime assistant for the Ravens.
Okay, great.
Then in 22, still no Watson. Now they make the deal. They get rid of him finally.
Was that when they had the Southern Shopping Center at quarterback by then?
Davis Mills. Yes, they go 3-13-1, but notably one of those was the last week of the season when they beat the Colts and dropped out of the number 1 overall spot.
Oh, the Panthers have done that too. That's nice.
Okay. Now, that was Lovie Smith as their coach. So 3 years, 3 different coaches. Huh. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like something the Panthers could pull off. Obviously.
Oh, we can change coaches every year.
Obviously, they hired the right guy. Obviously, the Texans got the right coach. You talked about culture and getting guys to believe in what you do and galvanizing the players that you have and some of that, rallying some of the talent you already have.
Because who's the one coach to it? Who's the one coach that the Panthers have played well under since David Tepper's been here?
Steve Wilkes.
Correct.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, right? It's the guys loved and respected him a lot and bought into what he was selling. I actually think they played harder for Chris Tabor than for Frank Reich, but I mean, I don't think he had the gravitas in that locker room that Wilkes did.
I also think Tepper made sure that there was a dead body coaching the team because he did not want to repeat Wilkes part 2, where he's passing over the interim.
It wasn't a good look
after
for him
rallying
on multiple levels.
Correct. All right, so now I'm sitting here thinking about the Texans, like, oh, Joe, it can't be this hard. It just can't be. This is also the NFL, which not for long stands for not for long. Like, you can flip things in the NFL very quickly. You can,
absolutely.
And we will get to an example of that for the Panthers where it worked, and it's probably how it's going to have to happen to work this time as well.
David Tepper going into a straitjacket is step 1,
Probably. So then I'm sitting here thinking about the Texans because you've pointed this out. Other people have pointed it out. And they're like, they have Tank Dell and Nico Collins. And I'm like, yeah, guys, like those are good receivers, but they're not like end of the world, Tyreek Hill, game-breaking, game-changing guys.
No, it's not on that level, but it's somebody that can go make a play. Like eventually, like Chuba ended up being a guy like that for the Panthers, right? A guy that will go out there and make something happen offensively. And at that point in the season, when they played the Texans, because I remember even thinking that about Tank Dell, I was like, wow, my kingdom for one of those. Or like a line
who's hurt and didn't play in this game.
I know. I was sad about that. Or like an offensive line. Like that was the big thing. That was the biggest thing I noticed in that game was that CJ Stroud wasn't fearing for his life every time he had to drop back. And that's a big problem.
He's really good with the deep ball. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, how did the Texans make this work so quickly? And then of course you have to start with the obvious. They had Deshaun Watson and they traded their franchise quarterback who no longer wanted to play for them, by the way. Even before all of his legal issues arose and his problematic behavior and his sexual predator tendencies had come to light. Okay.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So they trade him and you're thinking, gosh, what could they possibly get for Deshaun Watson? Well, they got 3 first-round picks, 3 number 1s, a number 3, and a number 4. So
it's just me staring out into the distance blankly, being sad.
How do you quickly fix this? The number 1 that they acquired in 22, they turned into a starting offensive lineman who's been perfectly functional.
Yes.
What a concept. Ike Ekwonu, I'm looking at you. The number 1 they acquired in 23, they traded up and moved up and got Will Anderson, an absolute home run.
Yes.
Obviously, they held on to their number 1 pick, which was CJ Stroud.
Correct.
An assist potentially from the Panthers by taking the wrong quarterback, right? To your point, the player they took in the 3rd round with the extra pick that year was Tank Dell, a guy who CJ Stroud went to them and specifically said, hey, I've been working out with this guy. You should go get him. They did.
Nice.
They picked him.
Oh, I like that.
So now they still have.
So they need a quarterback GM.
Yeah. And now they still have a number 1 pick in the 24 draft from Cleveland and a 4th round pick.
That's worse than
Cleveland.
The Bears trade with the Panthers.
And then that's what got me to the Panthers. I was like, well, what can the Panthers...
How are you the Browns and trading away 3 firsts? That would make me want to, just really bad.
So I'm sitting here thinking, well, how can the Panthers make this thing work?
Yeah.
And then again, we're still looking in the rear view. They had a premium asset. He just didn't play a premium position. Christian McCaffrey.
The fact that the Browns had to give up 3-1, you know what I mean, for that, and the Panthers couldn't get 1 for Christian McCaffrey.
So the Panthers got 4 picks for the best running back and the guy who really should be the MVP of the NFL this year. Okay.
No, we disagree on that. That's fine.
They got 3 picks in the 23 draft, 2, 3, and 4. They traded the 2nd round pick as a part of a package to get number 1 overall. Okay.
Yeah.
Included in that package was their number 1 receiver, DJ Moore. Included in their package was their number 1 pick in the 24 draft. And they used that pick to take Bryce Young. Okay.
Yep.
Fine. You had an idea.
It's not fine.
But you had an idea. You wanted to fix the quarterback position. This was your offseason idea. We're going to fix this position. We're going to do whatever's necessary. I don't disagree with that premise. I disagree with the price that they gave up and the player that they took, but I don't.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't disagree with the premise.
Do we feel differently about Bryce if they don't make that trade? Like a little bit.
Sure.
I do.
Sure. Because maybe you take Levis or whoever and you. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not get lost. In the 3rd round, they took a linebacker from Oregon who basically was a nothing in DJ Johnson to the point where you didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
In the 4th round, they took a player from NC State who did not go to the combine, who was on no one's draft board.
And is currently starting, or was currently starting, right? Or until he got hurt.
Extremely limited. And they took Chandler Zavala.
Yeah, nice guy. Good college offensive lineman.
He wasn't exactly healthy at NC State either.
Well, fair enough.
So why you reach in the 4th round? Fair enough. And then now they have a 5th round pick in 24 still from that draft, from that trade. Okay. The trade that they didn't make and probably should have made. The Rams had offered them 2 number 1s and a 2 during the 22 season for Brian Burns.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt a little when you reminded me that it's tough.
So,
I mean, Burns was, I think, still again, I'm not saying he's not playing at a high level now, but he was still playing. Like he was playing at a very high level, I thought. Yeah. Then, and it seemed like he was going to be a foundational piece for this defense moving forward. I don't know that they can afford to make him like a huge priority right now because of how many other needs they have elsewhere. Honestly,
so at the risk of bagging on their recent mistakes, okay, I want to offer a path forward for the Panthers. Before we do that, though, okay, we are here in the beautiful Eford Studios. This is what happens when one of us is not here. Thanks to our friend Greg Hayden over Empire Eats and Empire Properties. If you need coffee, lunch, whatever you need, downtown Raleigh Times City. The Mecca, maybe you like a diner, maybe you like breakfast, go come check out all the things that Greg has to offer. And of course, you don't know what you don't know. And that includes when I'm sitting here using yellow pads and I got a tax issues and I got a W-9. I got to get out to Lauren. Like I got all kinds of things going on here. Who can really help me with that? Copiers Plus, it can help you with your data needs. Copiers Plus. So go to copiers-plus.com. All right, now let's go. We're looking at kind of the recent mistakes that the Panthers have made. Let's look at the time in their history where the Panthers did turn this thing around. It wasn't a magic bean, but they were able to go from the worst team in the NFL in 2001. They were 1-15.
Yes.
George Seifert, a kind of tired, old defensive coach who was never quite in the right place.
Right.
Seemed completely out of place without Steve Young or Joe Montana, right?
Destined for something bad from the jump. Yep.
So he gets fired after a 1-15 season. They bring in John Fox, an assistant with the Giants, defensive guy. John Fox, fun fact, only coach to take 2 different teams to a Super Bowl and lose both. So there you go.
I have more of an affection for Foxy as I age.
Sure.
And
we get colored by the way that he was with the Bears and some of the Broncos, like as he's the endings.
Well, I always thought that he was far too conservative as a coach. However, every coach the Panthers has had since has been the same. So it's like, okay, maybe I was a little hard on him.
So if you don't remember, they go 1-15.
Yeah.
Okay. Fox's first year, they come in, they go 7-9. And then in 2003, they go 11-5 and they reach the Super Bowl and they lose by a field goal to the Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember.
So my question is, what happened in 2001 and 2002 and 2003 that they found their mojo? They found a way to flip from 1 win to 11 to the Super Bowl. And are there any similarities there that we could see that could rescue the Panthers?
See, my problem with that is, and actually, Anish Shroff did a podcast called Cardiac Cats about the 2003 team. I've pubbed it on Young Gun before. You should listen to it because it's great. But anyway, he talked about this a little bit, and I know obviously one of the big things is the draft. I mean, honestly, that's what's so discouraging now. I think if you care about the Panthers, when you look at how they rebuild is through the draft.
Yes.
You can't give up draft picks, like you just can't. And if you do, you better be damn sure that it's for a sure thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot give up draft picks for something that you think is going to work out. You better be sure it's going to work out. And they keep whoop, here's one. Here, you can have it. Like, no, stop it.
Look at those first 3 picks in 2001.
Oh my God. Yes.
Dan Morgan. Maybe we've solved something here. Maybe Dan Morgan needs to be the new GM. Chris Jenkins, Steve Smith. I argue Steve Smith is the greatest draft pick in franchise history. 3rd round, 74th overall.
You can make a case for that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Cam obviously won 1. Kuechly in the top 12 or whatever it was are both obviously up there. McCaffrey's up there. But in terms of value, that's the greatest value pick you're going to have.
Yeah.
Okay. The very next year, this is after they won 1 game. They ended up with number 2
draft
pick.
Is sick.
That's Peppers, Deshaun Foster, Will Weatherspoon, Dante Wesley.
I mean, again, the first 4 rounds, both of those seasons, in the first 4 rounds, they have starters on their Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Or guys who played a lot, whatever. Like, you have foundational guys. Well, I'm sorry, not no one, because, Winky started for a year, bless him. But, like, you have guys who were foundational guys for you. Peppers, Foster, Witherspoon, Dante Wesley, and then Randy Fasani, which we'll just skip that. The Panthers were never very good at drafting past round 4. Marty already in them. But in those first 4 rounds, forget. Like, no misses. Gosh, even Kendall Moorhead, they got in the 5th round in 2003. Man, I miss when they were good at drafting. I'm sad now.
But this is where it feels like this feels like the path. And I realize no exclusive, no crap exclusive here. You have to draft better.
Yes. 100%.
But part of that is also holding on to your draft.
Yes. Yes. It's like the Seinfeld was, it's not just the taking of the reservation, it's the holding of it. Like, you can't just you have to have the draft picks. Like, you can't just trade them. It drives me insane when they do this. You cannot get better if you can't rebuild through the draft, because there's too many things that can go wrong in free agency. You usually have to give up too much. No, you need to be rebuilding the draft.
All right. Well, I look at it and I see they've done it once before.
I could cry looking at these picks, man.
I know. I think they could do again. Obviously, it starts with getting the right GM and the right coach. So we'll see how the Panthers can make that work. Housekeeping. All right, you see it on your screen there if you're watching on the YouTubes, and if you're not, why aren't you? Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, Hayes Lancaster. There is no OG Media without the OG. Go to bugsbite.com. There's all kinds of ways you could save different bundles. Bugs inside your house, bugs outside your house. You got mice, you got moisture under your house, a 360 barrier. I'm telling you, they got it all covered. Do yourself a favor, go save yourself some money. Go to bugsbite.com. And there's a big hockey game over at PNC Arena today. Anytime there's a big event over at PNC, anytime there's a big football game over at Carter Finley Stadium, Breeze Through has you covered for all of your tailgate needs. Check them out today. They have their food truck out there for the Canes game at 3. Food truck will be out there starting at noon. So go over, get yourself some drinks, get yourself some dark roast coffee, get yourself some food. You'll be all set, and hit up the Canes at 3 o'clock today. We appreciate Breeze Through 17 locations throughout the state of North Carolina. The Breeze Through is there for wherever your travels take you. And we're big on saving money on this program, and you should be too. Best way to save money on your insurance? Ask Matt Davis. This ain't hard. Give him a call, 919-779-8277. That's 919-779-8277. Yeah, you want to talk to a real person. You want to figure out a way. You could be like one of our listeners, Troy, and save 40% on your home and auto insurance. We'll give him a call, or go to the oginsurance.com. This is the part of the podcast where I try to figure out where the transition buttons are. Lauren, easier said than actually finding the ones I like too, because I don't love all of Joe's transitions. Let's see which one this one is. All right, NC State improves to 4-1 in the ACC over the weekend. If I told you NC State was 4-1 and you were on social media Saturday afternoon, if I told you here is a fan base that is 4-1 in the ACC, would you believe me?
Probably not. But I mean, look, that's what happens, I think, when you lose the way that they lost to North Carolina. Like, I think if they had been able to keep, well, I don't know. I was going to say if it had been more competitive, but somehow I think that would almost be worse for them. I don't know. It's just, I think they just really want to beat Carolina right now. And I get it. And they need some tangible sign of like, this season is turning around. This team is capable of reaching the NCAA tournament and can get one of those like quad 1 wins. And so far they just haven't gotten any. And to lose like that and to just like literally miss seemingly every shot in existence, except for it's not worse than Virginia Tech though, y'all. So I can't unsee that. I'm sorry.
So after losing on Wednesday night over at PNC 67-54, making only 2 of 21 3-point shots, NC State goes to Louisville Saturday afternoon. I don't know how you feel about noon games. I always like the road team in noon games because I feel like it's a sleepy atmosphere basically no matter what. And I usually the road team is going to be more dialed in.
Except for like Boston College.
Yeah, you got to be really terrible, right?
Right.
But State, of course, goes 10 of 20 from the 3-point line in this game. They beat Louisville 89-83.
It's fine.
There were some testy moments in there. They were up 8 at the half.
No, it was
they were up 10 at the half.
Yes.
And
it was towards the very end.
9. My math is terrible right now. And people were like getting fidgety because Louisville made a run and came back in this game.
A couple times, yeah.
Louisville is not Louisville from last year. I think people need to square that.
Yes.
Louisville last year was one of the worst teams in ACC history.
Like we were wondering before this year if they would win more games than their football team this year. And I think that probably, maybe.
Yeah. They actually have ACC players on this team. Last year, that L. Ellis was probably the only one. And even that, like if you're counting on L. Ellis to carry you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
you can't do that.
I don't think this team is awful. I think this team is the Louisville team. I think they're in a difficult situation where they needed one of their 5-star McDonald's All-Americans to show up and all of these. Like they are a just add water program. Like they are not hey, let's build this thing and let's
carry it. They have no business being as bad as even as they currently are, much less last year, which is like, you almost like have to actively participate to make them be that bad. Yeah.
But I think some NC State fans and others are confused about how bad Louisville really is. They're not that bad.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that with Florida State even now with Florida State on a win streak. Everyone's like, how can you lose to them? It's like, well, true. But also Florida State suddenly decided to start playing basketball again, which is like very inconvenient for the rest of the league.
And we will get into that. But you know what? Do you know what Saturday's win over Louisville was, as many people pointed out to me on the Twitters?
Shit, be happy we won.
Pretty much. I agree.
Shit, be happy we won.
Thank you,
yes, Dave Torrey. Yes. You are right. This was a shit, be happy we won.
But imagine if Kevin said that. Like it wouldn't go over.
And that's going to get us into the conversation about Kevin. So again, shit, be happy. State's 4-1 in the league. I get it. You don't think Boston College is great. You don't think Notre Dame's great. You don't think Louisville's great.
Doesn't matter how good they are. You get out of there with a win and you say thank you.
They won
next.
all three of them on the road.
It doesn't matter. Look at what the other teams in this league are doing on the road. Like, it's not like people are just like routinely going into other buildings and blowing out bad teams. Not even Duke and Carolina are doing that every single time. They're just not.
So I think two things before we get into what is obviously Kevin's biggest problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin is 3-10 versus Carolina, which not great, but is actually tracks with the post Valvano era. 3-10.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I think is more impressive. What differentiates him certainly from Gottfried and from Herb Sundek. In the game after playing Carolina,
They always win.
they're 10-3.
Wow.
10-3. That and the two of those three losses came in the lost year of 22.
Because you can easily let a game beat you twice. Like, that's
yes, we've seen that multiple times
yes.
with multiple NC State coaches in multiple sports.
And I don't think that, honestly, I really don't think we have seen that. That's one thing I can say about Keats' teams at State. Yeah. They don't wallow and get bogged down. He can pull them out of rough stretches.
So when you said before that he needs to beat Carolina, like, there's such a big football energy to that. Like, I don't care if we suck as long as we just beat Carolina.
I'm not saying
you. No, but that is the mentality. Like, I would like Kevin if they just beat Carolina.
I mean, that's like, what you hear from State fans. And I get it to a degree. I
very
get
familiar. Yes. And it made me laugh because the Got Man, from one of his things that drove him crazy was, for all of the Gottman's faults, Gottman wanted to win. Like, he wanted to go to the Final Four and win the national championship.
Of course.
That was his goal. Like, he didn't always get the players that he wanted, and the ones he got, he didn't always love or use them the right way. But his goal wasn't like, let's stick around and get to the tournament and let's just,
No, I know.
Sorry. I didn't mean while you had the water in your mouth.
Yeah. I was like,
on the court.
Phrasing.
His thing was, I want to win the national championship.
Yeah.
And it drove him crazy. Like, when people would come up to him and be like, man, I really hope you beat Carolina. And he claims somebody came up to him when he was playing golf once, and he said, like, man, I just hope you beat Carolina. He's like, well, let me ask you something. If we
Carolina related anecdotes.
If we lose, if we go 0-2 against Carolina, but make the Final Four, are you going to be happy?
What do you think?
And they were like, well, I mean, yeah. He's like, well, I don't care if we beat Carolina. I want to win. I want to win the national championship.
See, I think, like, and I get that, but I think, like, to a degree, it's hard to have one without the other, right? Like, you have to, what do they say? You have to beat the best to be the best. And so, like, I get what Gottfried eventually wanted, but it's also like, you got to start a little smaller than that. Like, maybe by actually beating teams of that caliber, like, on a regular basis. And then you can progress to, like, let's get to the final. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just, does it help or hurt that they beat Duke all the time?
Well,
State. Not all the time, but like more
when
often.
They beat them, it's in Raleigh.
Yeah, but they don't beat Carolina and Raleigh. So, like,
no, they don't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, does that help or hurt? Do you think that they can muster up the strength to, like, beat Duke, even in years when Duke is, like, better than Carolina or whatever?
Yeah.
They still, or Carolina's terrible. Carolina still will manage to find a way. You know what I mean? And so, like, do you think that plays a role too? Is like, oh, we can beat Duke, but we can't beat Carolina. It's not like it helps much.
So, what Dave Doran did this year by beating Carolina again and then talking the shit the way that he did, endears him to the fan base.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
Kevin's problem is he can't regularly beat Carolina, although he has 2 wins in the last 4 years in Raleigh over Carolina, right?
Right.
So he doesn't beat them regularly. He, to your point, when Carolina's bad, like Roy's lost year of Cole Anthony, they got swept.
That was a big
and fans were like, oh. So,
and I get it.
And Kevin doesn't have the bluster either. Like, I feel like his first year he tried with the Kevin Keats as a winner at his introductory press conference, and then we stuffed the stuff, and that kind of blew up in his face.
The stuff thing, I think, is the big one.
He, like, literally tore his Achilles like the week after he said we've stuffed the stuff.
Are you being serious?
I am. He said we stuffed the stuff. Then they lost their next game in the ACC tournament. They lost their game in the NCAA tournament. Then his best player, Omer Yurt-7, transferred, and then he either tore his Achilles or his ACL himself.
Right.
Yeah. Like, you can't say we stuffed the stuff and then have all of these terrible things happen to you. Like,
that is,
you cannot utter that.
I gotta chill. I'm not gonna lie to you. Got a little chill.
So
that freaked me out a little bit.
He has basically not done anything talking wise since that first year. And then, of course, everything that played out in
But
19.
people still use it all the time to
Sure.
roast him.
Everything that played out in 19 with the net and then not making it. And then you have a pandemic where I believe to my grave they would have made the tournament that year. They were a good team.
Yeah.
Then they were terrible. The year after the year of, the post-pandemic year, they were just bad.
Yeah.
Then you had the lost year of Manny Bates. And now last year he comes back as one of the great FU seasons. But they come up short in the ACC tournament where it was very much wide open for them to win the ACC championship last year for the first time since '87.
But
then they lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and now you have like this remodeled roster. And I think what people are not going to get used to, and they can't really square, like this NC State team is good.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
Yeah, they are a good team.
Are they going to make I don't know that they're going to make the tournament. Like they're going to have to do a bunch of things, including starting tomorrow night against beating Wake Forest at home. Like you have to have certain wins like that. That's what they did last year.
They need to shoot better.
They have to shoot better.
They just have to. Hashtag got to make shots.
But we also like when Kevin does good things like at the end of the Notre Dame game, the way that I thought he managed the players.
Yeah, for sure.
DJ Burns was not on the floor during that run. Well, guess what? Then he came back in, used them, ran a couple plays for him, set up a couple plays. He makes the game-winning shot. This Louisville game. Now, he did say DJ Horn was 30 seconds late for a meeting. I suspect he was not going to start DJ Horn because he wanted DJ Horn after a poor shooting game to watch the game, see what's going on, maybe take a little bit of pressure off of him. Plus, with Michael O'Connell, he's not going to do anything dumb.
Exactly.
So you go on the road, you're playing Louisville. What's the number one thing you're going to want to do at Louisville? Not beat yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
By the way, these things are all coaching.
Yes.
Like,
no, I know people act like
people get confused.
The way people talk about Kevin sometimes, I'll admit it bothers me.
Yeah,
I don't like some of the like what feels a little coded at times about his basketball knowledge.
Of course,
I don't like it. He knows a lot more about basketball than a lot of people want to give him credit for, and he knows. He manages personalities well, I think too.
Yeah.
I think he actually does that better than Gottfried did, for example.
Correct. So they have a.
And that's part of coaching.
While I'm about to watch Carolina, and we're going to get into the Heels in a second here.
Yeah.
Carolina, I don't think is going to lose anytime soon. State now gets Wake, VT, Virginia, Syracuse there, Miami here.
This is a real
game.
Interesting stretch for them. Yeah, I'm looking at
this
even Georgia Tech, like
this January stretch is huge for State. So yes, be happy that they're 4-1 because it certainly beats the alternatives.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Did you know that the best way to get incentives from new home construction is to go with the people who know the new home construction? That's Hometown Realty. More than 60% of their business is in new construction. Get those incentives from the builders. Beat the frenzy, because once those numbers start coming down, and they're coming down, people are going to be in the market.
Very true.
You want to beat people to the market. You want to create that connection with Hometown Realty. Here's what you do. Go to myhtr.com. It is the super simple, easiest, effective website you'll ever see. There's a toggle right in the middle. Buy, sell. So do yourself a favor. Head down to myhtr.com. Buy, sell, calculate. And of course, maybe you're like me. Sure, you can close on a home and you'll need help from Whitaker and Hamer. Sure, that's a normal thing. But maybe you're like me. Maybe you have a random reckless driving traffic incident from passing somebody at a stoplight. And that was
I know it.
Maybe you had a speeding ticket on the way to Greensboro. Just to see
I have, yes.
To see the family.
I have had those.
Do yourself a favor. Go to wh.lawyer.
And really watch yourself in the Burlington Mebane area.
That's where it was, as you know.
Mine too.
wh.lawyer, Whitaker and Hamer, Josh Whitaker, Joe Hamer. They're there to take care of all of your legal needs. So check them out, wh.lawyer. And of course, we're having our Super Tecmo Bowl tournament at Shady's in Garner. Josh owns Shady in downtown Garner. Come see us February 4th. It's a Sunday. That Brownlee lady, you're on the hook. You're going to come see us. Alex is invited. You bring him.
Okay.
I'll provide entertainment. I'll bring the Dutch shuffleboard.
He's been talking about it. He's been telling people at school about it. Yeah.
Well, he was a natural. So he's so good. All right. So of course, you're like, Joe, come on, man. Houses, lawyers, like, give me something I can sink my teeth into. The Butcher's Market. Get yourself a steak sandwich, steak and cheese. Head over to the Butcher's Market there, home base on Millbrook and Six Forks, Falls in the News. One of those two, my home base over there. Then they're now at Lake Boone Shopping Center. Go check them out over there. If you're going over to a Canes game, thebutchersmarkets.com. You really cannot go wrong with all of the different foods and sides, prepared meals, anything else. They got it all there at the Butcher's Market. And again, now we'll try to find a good transition because, there's not always a great transition, Lauren, but it is Monday and it's a holiday. So
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm not even supposed to be here.
It was
today.
like us trying to park.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the mystery as to what is going on.
Maybe
in downtown Raleigh.
Yeah.
No mystery though that North Carolina at 13-3 and 5-0 in the league is the best team in the ACC. They have asserted that not only with grinding type wins over Pitt, Clemson, and NC State on the road, but then by going home and just absolutely playing murder ball with Syracuse, 103.
I was
67.
Like,
there were no sleepy noon starts for the Tar Heels on Saturday.
They're not playing around. They beat Syracuse like it was Charleston Southern.
Worse.
Yeah.
Well, close. 105-60 Chaz. So 103-67.
I mean, look, you have not seen Carolina beat especially ACC teams by this much.
This is a league game.
Right. Like, they have been playing really well. And it's literally been, I think, since 19 that we've seen them play this well. And that, because I think that 19 team was really good with Cam Johnson and all that, and Kobe White and all that. But they have not played. They have a killer instinct too, which they have not had in a while. They have just kind of this like tendency to, this team's making a run. Like they did this all last week. This team's making a run. Oh, sorry. No, we're shutting that down. Like they just always had an answer. And that's something they haven't had for a while.
They have a clear hierarchy on this team, and everyone understands.
And they haven't had
roles.
that in a long time either. Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's trying to play hot potato. Nope. Nobody's being selfish.
They also have two guys on that team, new additions that are tough and are incredibly smart.
Yes.
The way they play basketball.
Helpful.
Yeah. In Ingram and Cormac Ryan.
And I love kind of the old school Seth Trimble. Didn't play a whole lot as a freshman.
And look at him now. Yeah.
His role expands. He's helping them. Defensively,
especially, because
he's super athletic.
Yes. And he's a way better defender than Cadeau. Obviously, Cadeau is a more gifted passer, but he reminds me a little bit of like, I don't want to say Marcus Page, but like physically, you're like, oh, he's not quite there, but you see the flashes, like you see it.
That's absolutely right, comp. So now the Heels are 5-0, and just as we were looking at State's schedule and being like, there's about to be some rough water here.
I mean, they do have the dreaded Boston College road game.
The Heels
road game on a Saturday. I'm just saying. The
Heels get Louisville, BC, Wake, FSU, GT.
Wake is Wake at home though. So
yeah,
at FSU is the only one that at FSU is the only one because that is a hard place to play.
Oh, and actually that's on my list here because my overall, I'm going to set the over under on UNC's.
And it's going to be packed.
I'm going to set the over under on UNC's losses at 3.5
in ACC
play? In ACC play. And Ken Palm actually has it at 17-3.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and 25-6 overall.
So which would you go over or under 3.5 losses for North Carolina in men's basketball ACC play this year?
That's really hard.
The way I look at it, I
go over, but not by much.
I mean, they do go to Florida State and Miami, which are two trips that have traditionally given them issues. I think those will also be hungry teams. Even if you factor in a split with Duke.
That's what I would predict as well.
That's 17-3.
They're at Virginia as well, which is not a team they play well against.
No, they struggle with
stylistically.
Them. Yeah. And Virginia probably has a Super Bowl in them as bad as they've played.
Yeah, they have to. I don't understand them. They can't shoot at all.
Yes.
But they could make shots, and that's all it would take, I think, to beat Carolina at home in a pace that they're uncomfortable playing. Unless Carolina can force its pace, which it has done. That's the thing. That's what Carolina's been able to do in some of these games, which has not been able to do in years, is force their pace on the opponent. And that's something they have not been able to do really until this year. It's been a while.
All right, so you're with me? You're going under or
No, I'm going over.
16-4?
Yeah, but like that's where I would go with it.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot. But I don't know. I mean, I can see it the other way too. They're playing so well. It's just hard for me to I don't know. This is tough. I still think probably 4 is reasonable. What if they could just go through a little bit of a slump,
Could
I
be.
don't know.
It could be.
I don't know. You're going under.
I'm going under. I think 17-3 is where they pull this thing in the barn. I like the way that they're playing. I just think they figured a few things out. And once that happens and once you know all of your rules, you become a really dangerous
team. I just need to see the defensive improvement last beyond I would say 6 games.
Sure. Is
probably where I've seen it the most. The Tennessee game, I was like, they're not winning anything.
Yeah.
Because they can't defend anybody. Yeah. So obviously they're doing much better now. We'll see if that lasts. Hopefully for them, it does.
Maybe you want to head over to the Smith Center. Maybe you want to check out a game. The best thing to do is to be swagged out. Have the best possible merch you can find. The best way to do that is to go to homefieldapparel.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to save money is by using the promo code OG23. You save 15%. Hoodies, shirts, golf shirts, sweatpants, hats, jackets, you name it. They have it all. Again, use the promo code OG23 and save 15%. Maybe you're like me. You don't want to go to the game. You want to stay at home and watch it on your own TV in your own seat. Well, the best thing to do then is to get some wings. So head over to wingsover.com. Wings Over Raleigh, Wings Over Greenville, the one in Raleigh. Free parking on Hillsborough Street. You know how important that is. Order online, wingsover.com. When they say they're going to be ready, you go over there, you pull into your free parking spot, you sit there, you hop in, go grab your food, bring them home. Easy peasy. The best wings in town. Wings Over Raleigh, Wings Over Greenville. Our wings are better than yours. I came up with my own slogan for them. I just hope they don't mind.
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
Gets the people going. It gets the people going. A good day game. The Canes are taking on the Kings today. 3:00 for the MLK holiday. The Canes are also honoring Justin Williams today.
Love that.
I was actually over at the Canes on Saturday where they beat the Penguins 3-2 in overtime. Had a chance to catch up with Antti Raanta. Lauren, the Canes are doing the thing where they win a bunch of games in a row. They now have points in 14
That's
of
fun.
they now have points in 14 of their past 15 games, and they've won 6 of their past 7 games. The game on Saturday was a lot of fun. They were up 2-0, no goals in the second period. Raanta was really good in the second period in particular. Then he had an amazing save on Sidney Crosby in the third period. But of course, the Penguins being the Penguins end up Crosby sets up a goal like 22 seconds later. And then they scored with 52.7 seconds left in the game itself. And then Canes actually end up getting Brett Pesce scores the game winner in overtime. Brett Pesce scores 2 goals in this game. He had 1 in the first 33 games of the season.
Yikes.
So
okay,
good win for the Canes. Today should be a fun day. Again, a lot of stuff going on over at that breeze through. There's going to be a great crowd over there today too. And Justin Williams going into the team's Hall of Fame. Well deserved. They're kind of running out of the connections to 06. I think Eric Stahl will be coming soon, but we're starting to run out of that. It's a little bit like State with the 83 team. Like, all right, not saying you can't celebrate it, but it would be nice to add a few memories or two. But
yes,
I had a chance to catch up with Raanta, and I'm not going to insult anyone's intelligence here. Raanta is their backup goalie. He had struggled this year, and he's a Finn, so he's a great fit in their locker room. He's an older guy. They call him Father Finn. He is just a great part to have in your locker room when you have those 21, 22, 25. Aho's only 25. When you have these younger players, it's nice to have somebody like that.
Yes,
and
100%.
He's galvanizing type force there. But he struggled like hell. And they played Nashville, which I referenced in this interview with him, in a game they ended up losing 6-5 in overtime. And it was like, it really looked like somebody having an out-of-body experience because the Canes were were guns blazing up in this game. They looked great, and he just couldn't stop the puck. The next day, they waive him, and he ends up, nobody claimed him because he was like, you'll hear in the interview, he's like, I don't even know what the process was. I just kind of assumed somebody would pick me up. And nobody wanted him. And the Canes went to him and said, hey, we don't have a minor league affiliate, but we can get you a spot in Chicago, and you can make a couple starts for them. And he, as he says, he's like, I didn't know anybody there. And it just kind of showed up, and, they're really nice to me. He's got an unbelievable personality. And then he comes back. He comes back after Kachekov's injury, obviously. Now he needs to play. And he ends up starting, and he looked really he gets a win over Montreal before New Year's. Post New Year's, ends up playing against St. Louis. They lost 2-1 in shootout, but he's been on his P's and Q's since coming back up from Chicago. Had a chance to catch up with him, and I think Joe Ovis is going to be proud of my editing skills here.
Brownie, music, or I'm not doing this. Straight away. Nice, thanks, Brownie.
It seems like your last couple starts, you find yourself in a bit of a goaltender's duel. Nice to come out on the right side of this one.
Yeah, obviously, it's tough to go to the OT when the other team scores in the last minute. But I knew that you just keep playing your game, and then you just hope that we're going to find a way to get that puck in. And obviously, great to see Pesh scoring that goal and getting 2 points. It's obviously great game, like playoff type of game, and like that. So obviously great to get 2 points and get back to the winning.
Seems like in the first period you kind of maybe tweaked something, or you were slow to get up after a couple saves. Do you feel fine, or? Yeah,
like everything is fine. It's always during the game. There's always something happens, or you kind of lose your edge or something, but. Yeah, maybe in the second period there was a couple of times where you were full splits and somebody was laying on top of you and like that. So, but yeah, that's why you stretch during the nighttime and in the mornings. But I feel obviously winning when you win you feel great. Maybe if you got a loss you would probably be a little bit more stiff and like that. But yeah, no issues, and we got great staff here. So can't wait to get on the table and get them work.
Obviously, 40-something saves is just an incredible performance, but when you make that glove save on Crosby, is that when you really feel like, I'm back?
Then you knew also that there's too much time on the clock still, so yeah, but yeah, those saves happen sometimes, and I would say it's not that much skill, it's more a little bit puck luck also that, your glove just happens to be there when you stretch out like that, but obviously, great to make that kind of save. Crosby's been scoring against us lots, so obviously great to make that save. But I think overall today, like you just felt like you were in the right spot all the time, and you were seeing the shots, and you were making the saves what you have to make. And I think that's kind of what you've been focused on, and then. Something like that happens also when you do the small things right. So, obviously great to see a little highlight reel save here and there also. Just thought that you're going to hear it in 2 hours if somebody picked you, but that was probably the most stressful 24 hours in my life. And, obviously having a family and like that, you never know what's going to happen. And then, nothing happened, and then went to Chicago and, kind of went there with open mind, just trying to find the happy feeling and the enjoyment again, and I think those guys were awesome there. Like they took me in there and with the open arms, and I pretty much went there straight to the game and like that. So I think also getting that 3 days during the Christmas was kind of you play a couple games in Chicago. Felt good. Like I felt like I was making good saves there and helped them to get a couple points, but. I think it's just that mental break, when you don't have to think about hockey for 3 days and you can hang out with your family and with your kids, and you just, mentally you're just off, and, then pretty much after that you just came in, put your work boots in, and obviously the the hardest thing is when you know that you can do the job, but when you don't get the results and when you make, kind of like say mistakes or not even mistakes, but you let in goals where you shouldn't. So it's always tough as a goalie. So I think that was a little bit too much. You take it too much into yourself, and then you started to get to the dark place and like that. But obviously coming back and playing that Montreal game, in front of your home crowd and getting a win, that was kind of like one step forward. And after that, it's been kind of since from practice to the games, it's just been feeling like kind of like normal again.
You said normal. Did that Nashville game feel like an out-of-body experience?
Yeah, like where you just feel like you can't stop the bleeding. Guys are scoring 5 goals and you should win the game, and you just felt like you can't make that extra save or to get us that win. So, it was obviously probably one of the toughest. If you take that Tampa game, also those 2 outings were probably the toughest in my career, where you just felt like whatever you do, it's wrong thing what you do, and or not even wrong, but you're just a little bit off all the time and like that. So
you never feel like you're too old to learn, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like you've learned from the experience.
Yeah, and like when I heard that I'm going to Chicago, I just obviously a lot of things going in through your mind, but like I was talking with Don, like our GM, like I was like, maybe this is just a part of the journey for me, and you're never too old to learn new things, and I think kind of going there and having that mindset that I can play well, and then you go there and brand new team, like you haven't even met the guys, and you went went there Monday night and played Tuesday 11 a.m. So that was kind of shock to the body, but they were awesome, and I think that was kind of funny little trip for me this season. And I think after that it's been you just try to focus on the right things. Like if you go there and if you go to the game and you're worried about what's going to happen, it's probably going to happen. Like the worst thing, what are you thinking? So if you go there and
so much
it's all about that, like pretty much. Like you put your work in during the practice, but when the game starts, you just have to trust yourself and be in the right spot, do the small things right, and you're gonna get good results. Sometimes you're gonna lose a game, but you can't take it too hard. Like you can't go too deep, and sometimes you win and you can't go too high. So you just have to find that balance during the season. It's 82 games, so you can't be like a roller coaster. So you just now it's just pretty much just having that enjoyment, just going out there and playing against one of the best players ever playing this game. Crosby and Malkin and Letang, Carlson. That should be fun. And it was a lot of fun today.
Got to enjoy all the steps along the way.
Exactly. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Will do.
All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. It's Monday.
Yes.
The Oakwood Pizza Box, not open, but they will be on Wednesday, and they are through Sunday. So Wednesday through Sunday. Go check them out in person right there on Person Street, across from the world famous Krispy Kreme, or you can order online at oakwoodpizzabox.com. All right, Lauren. Normally, Joe pulls up comments, and normally he goes to the YouTube page. He gets very involved. Right.
On Twitter?
It's slightly...
or is he even on Twitter anymore?
He's not really on Twitter anymore. He goes into our YouTube comments. He goes on Instagrams, and he's much more advanced.
On Instagrams?
The Instagrams, as Bobby Bowden might have said. Yes.
I don't think he would have said that.
He did say the Facebooks once.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes. Which is why I say it all these years later.
The Facebook. Yes.
I just really want to make this a grab bag of NFL leftovers, since I know every other the radio industry has already talked about the Cowboys to death today.
That's my commentary. Just some laughter.
Let me just ask, after they lost at home to the Packers, and really not just lost, got run out of the gym, does that affect the Panthers coaching search at all, in your opinion? Because It just can't possibly be Mike McCarthy. Cannot possibly be the Cowboys coach next week.
I mean, he should have never been their coach to begin with. I don't
Fair.
understand why everyone. I'm like, I'm sorry. Am I insane? Am I the only person that's watched him coach football games? Why would you hire him on purpose, especially to coach in big, important games for you, and then be surprised that this is the way it ended? Absolutely not. While he sits there with a blank look on his face, like, what am I supposed to do now? No. So I hope it doesn't impact the search in that they hire him or something when he gets fired. Because if they do that, I might do something very bad. Like my anger will be on an unprecedented level. I will rage quit the Carolina Panthers if they hired Mike McCarthy. I do not think he is a good coach in any way that matters.
My initial thought.
Right? Am I too harsh?
Nope. My initial thought was, okay, the Cowboys are obviously going to fire Mike McCarthy. Maybe Jim Harbaugh would be more interested. I still think Jim Harbaugh's in play for the Panthers, right?
Like,
then I was like, oh, maybe Jim Harbaugh ends up being the Cowboys coach.
Which
right?
would in some ways be like...
But that's too much for Jerry, I think.
Yeah.
A personality, I think, is like that is just too much for Jerry.
No, Jerry needs a passive coach.
Yeah, he tried that already.
Like a Jason
Parcells.
Garrett, who went on public last night to defend him on television.
To defend Jerry or McCarthy?
To talk about like what a great guy he is. I'm like, this dude embarrassed you regularly when you were like, why are you still, you don't have to be his friend. You don't have to be nice to Jerry still. Why are you going out of your way to be nice to a guy that like, I don't get it. Whatever.
So how have the Packers figured out how to have an unbelievable starting quarterback? Brett Favre was a second round pick of the Falcons. Aaron Rodgers was a guy who fell in the draft.
Well, you know what? Neither one, you know what they both have in common, Aaron and Jordan Love, is that neither one of them were thrown in right away. Sorry.
And neither was Favre.
Yeah, no.
Neither was Favre.
And I said that even about Bryce. I'm like, why would you throw him out there with this team?
Yeah.
With this roster?
Honestly, I thought Andy Dalton was going to start a couple of games this year. I didn't think it was a bad idea.
I thought they should have just done it at a certain point in the season, unless they're trying to like, I don't know, trial by fire, literally. It feels like for Bryce. Like, I don't get it.
I was genuinely stunned, though, by the way that the Cowboys lost that game.
I was too.
Also,
but it was still very funny.
Can we give Cam Newton a little bit of credit here? Because people were bagging on his game manager comments about.
I've always felt that way about
Tua Tagovailoa and Dak Prescott. I'm sorry, what did we see this weekend?
And that's the other thing about
sorry, what did we see? Like,
yeah, no, I'm with you.
One of the players,
it comes across like hating because he's not.
That's what I'm saying. Like I have to get better about things I see on the Instagrams and all these other reels and stuff like that, like on Facebook.
All these other reels,
whatever it is.
I don't know,
because I can't keep track sometimes of who's saying what.
Reels are on Instagram, but yeah, okay. I hear you. I know.
But there's also like a Facebook element.
There's Facebook video. Yeah. There's TikTok. Yeah. There's all these things. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have TikTok because, of course, that's the only way the Chinese will get my information.
Right.
It's the only way.
You've secured yourself.
Yeah.
So
otherwise, it's just if I wasn't on TikTok.
Good news. You're fine.
Finally, I saw like I think it was a receiver who came. It was on like a podcast. Was like, you realize why Cam Newton is saying this? Like, he had to do everything himself. And he had to take teams with lesser players and make things work. And he got to the Super Bowl.
He had Nane as a starting wide receiver one year. That's an unserious GM would do that to him. Leggett Nane.
Leggett
You remember him?
I do not.
Of course you don't.
I thought you were going to talk about your favorite, Burson.
Oh, Jerry's pet. Jerry's little pet. Yep.
Oh, did he go to Wofford?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Of course he did.
Oh, okay.
You mean the dude who
makes more sense
The
now.
dude who I was literally happy when he caught a punt return.
Right.
Because half the time he'd catch it and panic and like fumble. I can't.
So I took this as someone who loves it when people tell me that I was right.
Yeah.
I took this weekend as a big, hey, Cam Newton, you were right kind of weekend.
I mean, obviously. And that's the thing. Cam always did have to do it all himself. And so like, did he sometimes throw a few more interceptions or make some decisions that weren't as good? Yeah. But part of that was by necessity. Like,
well, and are we sure now that Tua is the comp for
I hate
Bryce
this
Young?
For Tua because I really like Tua.
Yeah.
No, they can't be comps because Tua like destroyed his hip before coming. Like, I'm not saying that that's like, I don't know if that's impacting him now in any real way at all. But at the same time, like, that was such a significant. I can't even believe he's still playing football. To be honest,
when Joe and I talk
are
about
they comps
Tua,
like in a football sense?
no, we talk about it like, okay, he struggled his first 2 years, and then when they had the right people around him, you
Yes.
see him flourish.
No, I do think that that's a good
Okay.
comp. Yes, in that way, absolutely.
I don't know if I want to take anything away from that game because of the weather, other than
Yeah, I know,
if I'm the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, his helmet breaking,
dude.
like
I have never seen that. Have you seen that?
have
you seen a helmet? Like,
no, I've seen like ear pads
Right.
fly out of a helmet or a
Right.
mouthpiece or
yes.
maybe
or like
a
or like
screw
a
or
yeah.
whatever. The actual helmet
To just
itself,
shatter like an eggshell. I mean, I know it didn't take that like little force, but like
maybe it's like NASCAR.
it was the cold.
Maybe
I
it's
know,
like NASCAR.
but like
It's good that it broke, because it shows that the
they've got to put the
absorption-
temperature rating like higher on whatever. I don't know. I don't know how.
I don't.
that works.
Where do you fall on the weather scale? Because
Well, that's what they were saying is like that's the reason it broke.
Yeah,
because
but
it got so cold.
but I don't want to see games like that. Like I want to see
Oh,
the Chiefs and the Dolphins
don't wanna
play in
be
perfect
outside.
conditions.
I don't want to see people outside in that. I don't want to see
No.
you without your shirt on. You're not impressing
Right.
me. I think you're an idiot.
Die of hypothermia. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, 30 minutes. That they said that's how long it would take hypothermia to
Look-
set in. Like,
Look at the Packers Cowboys game.
yeah,
You've played for 18 weeks. I want to see these teams play at their
That's-
highest level.
that's my biggest
I
thing.
don't want to see them like have their dick freeze off. Like I
That's
just
why
want
I
to see them play football.
That's why, like, it was part of the reason I really hated the Patriots. Like, when they first started, I was like, I don't want to see Peyton Manning play in a blizzard.
Yeah.
Who wants to see that? No one wants to
The
see
tough
that.
game.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
because he's not tough. Like, cry more. No, y'all cry more. I don't want to watch you play where you hand the ball off a bunch of times and it's too cold for Peyton Manning to throw touchdowns to people. It's not fun for me.
It's not fun for anybody.
No.
And I actually don't even think it's a test of football.
Just
at that
put
point.
everybody in a dome. You make enough money.
Yeah. Well, I should probably wait for Ovius to come back for this next one. But hey, Joe, will you shut up about Tyreek Hill now?
In what way?
So
In what way?
I have
specifically?
been saying since they traded him that the Chiefs made a huge mistake in trading Tyreek Hill, because I think he's a one of one. I think he is a true game breaker.
Oh,
I think
okay.
he's a true difference maker, and you don't give those away. Certainly I think they only got one first round pick out of that deal.
That's more than the Panthers got for their best one.
Yes, I figured they would regret it, and of course, since then, now they've won the Super Bowl without him, and now they've eliminated his team in the playoffs.
I probably tend to err more on the side of I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think receiver is one of the more replaceable positions in terms of like having high quality receivers in this league. It's easier to turn that position around. And when you have a quarterback as good as Mahomes, I don't know that it's as necessary, if that makes sense.
It does. I think there are a lot of B receivers. B.
Yeah.
There's not that many A's. Now, what's the difference between an A and a B? And can a quarterback like Mahomes make a B an A?
And I think he can.
I think that's probably the answer right there.
Exactly.
So yes, I will now shut up about the Tariq.
What
Hill
are the
trade.
Panthers receivers? C minuses?
Yeah,
I think they have a bunch of C's.
They're replacement level.
They have a bunch of C's.
Yeah, I mean,
I give some of them like a B plus, but that's or B. I
depends
give
on the
Thielen
day,
a
I
B.
guess.
Thielen's it.
I will end on the golf one, but before we get to that. Hey Joe, can we really now give LeBron James credit for 3 titles?
Wait, were we not doing that?
Is the Cleveland title has to be worth 3? Right? It has to be.
I'm with you. Listen,
it has to be. The Browns were so good this year with Joe Flacco, and they get to the playoffs, and it's like you get run out of the gym by the Texans. What the hell is going on?
I mean, listen, the Browns are getting exactly what they deserve, so I have no.
You're fair. That's fair, and I get that. But I'm watching that game last night, or I'm thinking about it yesterday, the day later, and I go, can we just give LeBron credit, please?
Listen,
for all of these, Jordan people are like, he's got 6 and LeBron's only got 4.
Well, they're not remotely the same player. So like, I don't even know why we do this.
I know, but leading Cleveland.
LeBron is closer to Magic than to in terms of the type of player they are.
Leading Cleveland in any sport to a championship.
Yes, 100%.
It has to be at least worth 2.
And you know what? Like, honestly, I think like it was the Detroit series for me back in his younger days as a Cav when he had like God, who do you have on that team with him? Just a bunch of garbage, literal garbage. And he like basically carried them to several wins in this. And I was like, okay, at this point, I was like, this dude is one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. And I felt that way almost ever since. Like he can carry a team, and it should be worth more. I agree with you.
Yeah. Goffstrich.
Booby Miller was one, I think. I mean,
Gibson. I think.
Booby Gibson. Thank you. God, I'm mixing.
The Goffstrich getting his revenge. I thought that was I thought it was just a good football game last night. Love the Lions, Rams. I forget sometimes not everyone knows all of my.
Well, it took me a second.
nicknames.
I'm like first I'm like Godfrey. I'm like no. Yeah,
actually,
I got it.
forget my golf take. I can save that for tomorrow. This will be a good way to get out of here, right? Like if you're ready to give up on Bryce Young, think about Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Think about Jared Goff. He helped the Rams get to the Super Bowl. And then
it took the right people around.
And they were like, hey, he was the number 1 overall pick.
He was never that good.
He helped the Rams get to the Super Bowl. And they were like, hey, love you, mean it. You're not good enough for us to win the Super Bowl.
And I kind of agreed, by the way, personally, at the time.
But look where he is now in Detroit.
Exactly.
Look where he is.
So maybe we need that offensive coordinator.
But maybe to your point, further down in his career and more that he's learned and more that he's been able to process.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the theme of today's show is
also the Lions. Should the Lions be the playoff team of the show? Or they're just my personal playoff team? I love them.
Oh, I mean, they win their first playoff game since 1990, the 91 season.
How do you not love this Lions team? Like, it's hard.
Can I just also admit I've literally gotten every playoff game wrong.
Well,
every single one.
It's easy to get them wrong. Like, to be
fair,
I
would say
I would have maybe
picked
picked
the home
Texans,
teams,
although not like that.
you idiot.
Well, who cares? Home field advantage in the NFL is kind of overrated, but yeah.
That's what I thought, but not the case. Other than the Cowboys and the Packers, which, as we've said, was the one controlled environment. So
it's very funny,
right?
I'm sorry. Every time I think about it, I laugh a little bit. Because what else do I have if I can't be like laughing at Cowboys' misery?
Oh yeah,
or someone else's misery.
That is what most people today's day for. But
it's also funny to me that like we're still sorry. I don't want to like derail the end here.
No, you're fine.
But like we literally had to sit through the Cowboys Hall of Honor.
On Thanksgiving.
At an entire halftime.
Jimmy Johnson.
Okay, which they would have done for maybe one other team, and I think it's the Packers. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And look, I get it. This team hasn't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. What are we like? Can we stop getting them shoved down our throat as if they are this team has gotten into the playoff and peed on themselves repeatedly for the last 30 years. And every year we do the stance with them in the preseason where we're like, this is it. This is the one. Why? Why do we do? Wait,
the Cowboys circle of life.
I need them to win multiple, 2 playoff games, right? Before we get the
circle of life.
I don't think that's an unfair thing to ask, is it?
No.
The Panthers have won several playoff games since, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, whatever. I don't understand it. Let's just put it that way. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Since we're post-editing, I'll pull up the graphic on here. Dallas Cowboys cycle. The season starts. Beat up on bad teams.
Yep.
Fans get delusional.
Yep.
We them boys. This is our year. Choke in the playoffs.
Exactly. And we're told all the time, oh, you guys don't like us because you're jealous. What are we jealous of? What was anyone jealous of? The fact that y'all get into the postseason and don't do anything? Yes, we're very envious of that. That your owner embarrasses himself and y'all in public on a regular basis. We already got one of those. We don't need another one. Okay? What do you think we're embarrassed? What are we jealous of? We're not jealous of anything. Y'all are embarrassing. Sorry.
Perfect note to end on. We'll be back tomorrow with some more OG. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, do all of those good things. Follow us on the Apples, the Googles, the Spotify, you name it. We're there. Check us out. Appreciate you guys for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.